I grew up hearing the word menopause, and recently I became ashamed that I didn't know enough about a faith that definitely awaits me. I thought menopause was this one day in a woman's life where she will wake up and ta-da, you know, her menstrual period will just cease. That's what I thought menopause was. I thought it was going to be just the day that we are finally going to be free of the mess, the blood, the mood swings, the PMS, whatever it is that is associated with your period. I thought there was going to be one final day that we were going to be free of it. Until recently, my mom's story made me to sort of go into some sort of research, and I realized that menopause came in stages, that it was not one day but rather it was a journey. So I decided, okay, you know what, I think this is a very very important topic, and I am definitely going to come and sit on the For Healing Girls YouTube channel and talk about what no one told me about menopause and how to hold space for older women in our lives who are going through menopause. So if that's something you're interested in, then you definitely want to stick around. And as usual, we want to get something to hydrate ourselves. As I always say, we want to get our journals, our pens, and yeah, we want to talk about this topic that really matters and concerns a lot of women all over the world. So let's just ease right into it. Welcome to the For Healing Girls YouTube channel. My name is Omolola Dodu, and you're welcome to the safe space on the internet that just holds conversations on things that really matter: emotional growth, faith, healing, trauma. And recently, I said, I need to come and talk about this moment in my life where I just realized that, oh my God, I don't know anything about menopause, and nobody has ever sat me down. I have wonderful older women in my life. At the top of it is my mom, then my older friends, then my mentors, and sometimes just simply acquaintances I've met on my journey through life. Yeah. And none of them have ever sat me down and said, "Hey, babe, there is something coming for you, and it's called menopause." I think, but because they think, "Oh, she's in her thirties, yeah, she has nothing to worry about. There's still time." But if there's one thing I've realized is that we don't have as much time as we think we do. Yeah. So nobody told me that menopause could last a really long time. Nobody told me that it came in stages. Nobody told me that it could also feel quite lonely for a number of women going through that phase or season of their life. So let's talk about my mom. And definitely, I'm going to I'm going to play a voice note that she so kindly and graciously sent to me when I asked her about her experience with menopause. My mom has been going through menopause for quite a number of years now. And, year in, year out, she's like, "Oh, I don't feel so good." Some days she's herself, and some days she's like, "Oh, I don't feel so good." She wasn't sleeping well, or she isn't sleeping well. She's having hot flashes and, all these things. And recently, I moved away from Nigeria. My house used to be just 30 minutes drive away from hers. But right now, my house is oceans away from hers, waters away from hers. And I have had the need to call her more often to check up on her. And I just noticed that it's still the same complaint that we had last year that she's been having. She's been telling me the same complaints, which is the hot flashes, the mood swings, the ability to not sleep at night. That's insomnia. Yeah, don't make it so wordy. Yeah, but not sleeping well at night and the excess heat. And she lives in Nigeria, and Nigeria can be really hot. Some parts of Nigeria can really be hot all year round. And she stays in one of the states that is hot all year round, even during the Hamatan or December when the weather is like a bit cold or cooler, yeah. And I spoke to her this week and she had the same complaint as I said. And I just thought, and I'm like, you know what is really going on? That was the first time. I am ashamed to say it, but that was the first time that I took a pause and I'm like, what is even menopause? Meanwhile, I had attended a webinar by one of my mentors, Hajia Khadija Iya, and she brought a friend of hers to speak to us about menopause. But for some reasons, it didn't really sink. My God, it didn't really sink because maybe I felt, oh, I'm not there yet. And I was one of the behind the scenes people. So I was running around behind the scene and I didn't really take time to sit down and listen. It was a webinar on Zoom. And I wish I did, but I did take my time to sort of research and know what menopause is about, just so I could be there for my mom. I could be some sort of beacon of hope for her, and I could support her with empathy and with kindness and genuinely ask the right questions when it comes down to it.
I want to share what I wish people knew about menopause. There are things people need to know. One important aspect is that menopause is not a disease. It is not a death sentence. And again, it is a natural occurrence. Menopause simply means the cessation or menstruation stoppage. Menstruation is when a female bleeds monthly. So when the menstruation stops, that is menopause. Again, there's what we refer to as perimenopause, and then the after menopause too. So it is important for us to get that clear.
So here's what I've learned about menopause. Here's what I've read about menopause so I could hold space for my mom and other women in my life. And I could also see if I could start some sort of preparation for mine. Yeah. Number one, menopause comes in stages. Did you know that? Because I didn't know that. Menopause is not just menopause. It's not just menopause. Menopause is not just the only phase. It's actually the second or the middle phase. The first phase is perimenopause, and perimenopause is, or rather, comes in your early 30s, sorry, your late 30s, or your early 40s, or your early 50s for most women. Late 30s, because I think things are changing now and science and doctors are saying that there are now more women in their 30s, late 30s, that are coming in with signs of perimenopause. That's a different conversation, but I just wanted to put that out there. So according to the Menopause Foundation of Canada, perimenopause can start as early as your 40s, your late 40s, and it is a time leading up to menopause that can last anywhere from 2 to 10 years. It can last from 2 to 10 years. That was a wow for me. And during perimenopause, estrogen and progesterone levels fluctuate and sometimes dramatically, leading to many symptoms that can have negative impact on health and quality of life. This is by the Menopause Foundation of Canada because I live in Canada. And when I wanted to read and understand menopause better, and I searched on Google, this was one of the first pages that popped out. And I'm like, okay, you know what? Let's go with this one. And then after perimenopause comes menopause. Menopause is the most famous of the three stages. Everybody talks about menopause. And sometimes people use the word menopause when they really mean perimenopause. So, what do the Menopause Foundation of Canada say menopause is? They say menopause is a milestone that happens when a woman has not had a menstrual period for 1 year. So, it is actually a day. Menopause is actually a day. So, my guess was sort of correct when I said I thought menopause was just 1 day. But no, it's a phase. Yeah, it's phase. There are different stages. So, it's the perimenopause first, then the menopause second, yeah. But if you were going through menopause, it means that you've gotten to a moment where you've gone 12 months, you've gone 1 whole year without seeing your period. So 51 is the average age of menopause in Canada, with most women reaching menopause between the ages of 45 and 55. My mom was also in her early 50s when she actively entered menopause. So I can say we could almost, and from other sources I read, you could say that okay, lots of women actually enter menopause in their 50s. And after menopause, which is the final stage, is post-menopause. Now, symptoms from perimenopause and menopause itself can continue in postmenopause. So whatever symptoms a woman was having in those two phases can actively continue in the what accent was that in the postmenopause stage, yeah. And every day after reaching menopause is considered post menopause. This was quite news to me. It was quite news to me that, okay, I'm going to go through the perimenopause phase first, then the menopause stage, then the post menopause stage, and each stage is different. But whatever symptoms started in the perimenopause stage is most likely also going to follow me all the way to postmenopause. And what are the symptoms? What are the symptoms that women actively see during this phases of menopause? Number one, there's hot flashes, there's mood swings, there's vaginal dryness, there's anxiety, there's forgetfulness, there's depression, then there's the health issues. I'm not saying this to scare you. As I said, I'm saying this so you can understand the stage that most, or the season of life, the most older women in your life are currently going through in their own lives. And that you are also a woman, and you are definitely going to get to that season of your life by God's grace if you live long enough to that period. Yeah. If we live long enough to that period, and by God's grace, we are definitely going to live long lives. Yeah. So that's why I'm doing this video. I'm not doing this to scare you. So all the symptoms I've mentioned are things that my mom is going through, that your mom, if she's in her 50s, might be going through, or your aunt, your mentor, the older women in the older woman in your office that you like to chit chat with, the older women in church that are so kind to you, or just, older women in general. This is what they are going through, and one thing that's got me thinking again, which leads me to my number 2 point, is menopause is not just physical, it's emotional. And watching my mom, I realized that this is happening to her body, but also it's affecting her heart and her mind too, as well. And what do I mean by that? Some women begin to have the mindset that, oh, this is so much. And because of what I'm going through, I might not be able to be there. I might not be able to show up for my family, my children, my husband, and it can start to affect the way they show up in their lives daily, and even the mindset or the thoughts they have about themselves. Some women will start to feel really confused or even ashamed, and it could just really affect a woman's perspective of herself.
Remember an episode once I traveled somewhere and I saw a friend, she came looking disorganized, looking confused. And I asked, she said she just didn't understand the way she was feeling, that she couldn't really explain it. But she knows she's not feeling fine. And she told me that she's probably under a spiritual attack. And when I asked about what she was feeling, Eventually, she was able to open up to me, and I concluded that it was menopause. So I now went on to lecture and to say one or two things about menopause and what she should do. She couldn't believe it. She told me she concluded all she needed to do was to go and see a pastor so that she will be prayed for or she'll be delivered from spiritual attacks. So I think it is a very good thing for women to connect. We need to. I think it's one of the things to up to today. I do it. There are a few friends, pharmacists, lab tech, and so on. We I talk to them or we exchange notes. At times, they tell me about their own personal experiences too, and I tell them about mine. So it is very important for young ladies now to know. Thank God for uh, technology. There are many ways we can get information today. But another thing is I'll advise younger women to talk to their mothers, especially for mothers to be able to tell them their own experiences too. Because in most cases, some of these things, if your mother experienced certain things, it's likely you will experience it too.
This part of my video is going to just talk about how we can hold space for women going through menopause. And when my mom was going through it, I thought she was being a bit too emotional at times, or she was snapping a lot sometimes. But then I realized that she was in the middle of a transition, and that transition came with its own symptoms, and that she was not just moody, or she was not just sad alone, but that she was also grieving a version of herself that she had always known. And at the same time, she still had to show up in her reality. Life is not waiting for her because she's on menopause. Life didn't pause and say, oh, you're on menopause, so just go through it. And when you're ready, you can come back to living. No, life was still moving on, and she had to keep showing up for us, her kids, and for her husband. So if your mom or your aunt or your big sister, your boss, anyone around you seems a little off lately, I want you to pause and ask yourself, what if she's going through menopause and no one told her about all these things and all these changes that are happening in her body right now? So, to end this part one of this video, I want to say that menopause is not just physical. I want to say menopause is emotional, it's spiritual, it's hormonal. I want that to sink for few seconds so you understand how important this conversation is. So if you're ready to know how to hold space for the women in your life going through menopause, then you want to click on the part two of this video. And on that part two, that's where we're going to have the journaling prompt and also the affirmation. So let's ease to part two. Yeah. All right. See you on the other side.